kind of in the monumental epic of film. Sometimes some movies are bigger than others, some are small, intimate. But in order to make this work, it has to be intimate and it has to be huge, just because of the nature of it.
Yes.
I guess as an actress going into it, can you explain the mindset? Is it always the same on every film? Or when films are a little bit bigger than life or recreating large life like this, is it a different approach or is it the same?
No, I didn't feel that it differs that much. What you know, it's almost as if you look at the character. At least I did. You know, I look at the character, and I look for what I need for her. You know, and how to prepare for her. But I didn't have in mind. You know, and I felt perfectly safe with Ridley that he was going to respect the integrity of the story. You know, and that he was going to make sure that, though the action was going to be spectacular, that he was going to make sure that the intimate moments would be powerful too.
I like the idea in this film that Ridley held back and did the sexuality more subtle.
Yes.
A bad movie would not do that. It
Yeah.
would throw it right in your face.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of sweetness in those moments, and I think it's more about what the people are feeling that they're losing, rather than what they're trying to gain. Yeah.
Have you done anything in your life that prepared you for this particular film more than anything?
Not in any other thing than reading, I guess. And I've lived a little bit in Italy, so that probably, you know, gave me some closeness to the place. I definitely felt like it was close to home, you know, because I've been living in Rome for some years and in Milan, and I absolutely love the place. So to a certain way, yeah, maybe that.
I think people, especially people in this country, that, you know, when you study Rome in school and then as an adult when you go over there and see the Colosseum, you're still kind of amazed at how outrageous the whole Colosseum scene was, and how outrageous the whole Caesar and the Emperor and the whole everything surrounding that was.
Yes.
And how decadent it was.
Well, some of it was decadent, but some of it was also just plain grand and astonishing. And there was definitely a search for aesthetic purity, you know, on the part of the people who were building. You know, there was a lot of really wonderful ideas, you know, having come from Greece and you know, the Hellenization of all of Rome. And I think those are really astonishing things to see when you do go and see. You know, they can't, you know, dig for, you know, put down electrical lines without, you know, having everything stopped by archaeology teams, you know, because it's just so full of history.
Isn't that amazing?
It is a wonderful thing.
Because we would think in this country how backwards it would be, and yet it was so forward. The Egyptians were very forward, and the Romans were very forward thinking, and just the architecture alone.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I want to ask you kind of a little bit more about acting. If you didn't make a dime acting, if it just boils down to well, you take away income and publicity and notoriety, it just gets down to the moment of doing it, what you really love about acting?
I would like to interject the fact that I'm certainly not a rich woman, so, you know.
I didn't imply that.
So I have been doing it for that reason for a long time, you know, for the reason that I just love it. I just love it. I love to walk onto a set, and I love to work with talented people, and I love to tell stories.
Do you find acting more fulfilling now than when you started?
Yes, I certainly do. I feel that I'm starting to be less scared, and not that it's ever going to go away, and I think it's perhaps even a healthy thing to have, you know, some notion of fear at a certain time. But I definitely find it a much more comfortable process than I did in the beginning, where I was just all out scared.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that watch movies have no idea that actors do get frightened from time to time. And there's a process that you go through to become comfortable.
Yes.
Also, when you're in the middle of a scene I know you didn't reconstruct the whole Colosseum, but some of these sets are pretty grand. Is it easier to get lost in the moment as an actress?
It's not an easy thing. It's very difficult, and I think it takes a lot of different components to make it happen. You know, it's a wonderful thing when it does happen, and when you have been in that kind of moment, you wake up afterwards and you go, this was fabulous.
Is that rare?
It's harder than you think.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
You're very welcome.
Good work in this.
Thank you.